A Mafia boss snapped at a waitress in Valentino's, but her calm reply, just 3 words, made every glass in the room stop trembling. The chandeliers above glowed like frozen fire, spilling light over silver cutlery and silent guests. This wasn't a restaurant anymore. It was a throne room, and she had just challenged its Mafia boss. The dinner rush at Valentino's moved with the rhythm of a symphony, crystal, silver, and murmured power. Every movement rehearsed, every smile measured. Then a single, unplanned note shattered it. At table 12, Dante Moretti's voice cut through the orchestra. "Do you even know who you're talking to?" He wasn't loud. He didn't have to be. The room obeyed his tone the way tides obey the moon. Across from him, the waitress didn't shrink. Sarah Mitchell, 27, apron creased from double shifts, eyes steady as stone. She balanced a tray of wine glasses between her fingers and answered, clear enough for the chandeliers to carry it. "You don't own me." For a heartbeat, the restaurant stopped breathing. Forks hung midair. The pianist's hand froze above the keys. Even the chandeliers seemed to hum louder, filling the silence with light. Dante leaned back, studying her like a puzzle he hadn't solved. "Say that again." Sarah set the tray down with a controlled click. "I said you don't own me, Mr. Moretti. You can yell at the staff, but respect isn't optional." No one in Valentino's had ever spoken to him that way. Power, here, was currency. Fear, the exchange rate. A man at the next table coughed, half choking on his wine. A bodyguard near the bar shifted, hand hovering close to his jacket. Dante lifted one finger. The guard stopped. The boss's eyes never left hers. "What's your name?" "Sarah." "Sarah what?" "Mitchell." He smiled, slow and deliberate. "Well, Miss Mitchell, you've just become the most interesting thing to happen to me tonight." Her jaw tightened. "Then I pity your nights." A ripple went through the staff, shock mixed with something close to admiration. Sarah picked up the tray again, back straight, and walked toward the kitchen. The click of her shoes on marble sounded like defiance made solid. Dante watched her go. The anger people expected never came. Instead, there was curiosity, an unfamiliar itch beneath his composed exterior. "Clear the floor," he murmured. The maitre d' blinked. "Sir?" "Everyone except the staff. Now." Within minutes, the diners vanished like a receding tide. Only waiters, guards, and Sarah remained. She re-emerged from the kitchen, surprised by the emptiness. "Something wrong?" she asked. Dante stood, adjusting his cufflinks. "You've taken my appetite," he said, "so you'll stay until I decide if you can give it back." Her pulse quickened, but she didn't step back. "If this is some kind of game—" He interrupted, voice low, almost kind. "Everything in this world is a game, Miss Mitchell. The difference is who makes the rules." He took a slow step closer, "and tonight you broke one." She met his gaze. "Then maybe the rules were wrong." For the first time in years, the Mafia boss almost laughed. "We'll see." The chandeliers above flickered, scattering gold across the marble floor as if the light itself was holding its breath. Dante gestures toward the empty dining room. "Sit down, Miss Mitchell. Let's find out what kind of woman tells a Mafia boss no." The staff had retreated to the edges of the dining room, whisper quiet. Outside, thunder rolled over the city. Inside, the golden light from the chandeliers softened into silver, throwing long shadows across the empty tables. Sarah stood by the kitchen door, apron still tied, unsure if she should leave or speak. Dante Moretti gestured toward the table she'd just served. "Sit." "I'm on shift," she said. "You're on trial," he replied. Something in his voice made even the air hesitate. She sat, back straight, chin up. He studied her for a moment that stretched too long. "Do you always answer men like me that way?" "Only men who forget they're human," she said. That pulled the corner of his mouth into what might have been amusement. You think I forget? I think power makes it easy. He poured wine into 2 glasses. Drink. I'm working. Then consider it part of the job. She didn't touch the glass. He noticed, of course. You don't scare easily. You don't impress easily, she countered. The faintest chuckle escaped him. Valentino's trains its staff well. No, she said. Life does. For a heartbeat, something changed in his eyes. Curiosity laced with respect. Tell me, Miss Mitchell, what kind of life builds that spine? 2 jobs, a sick mother, rent due last week. He leaned back, fingers steepled. And yet you lecture the man who could erase your debts with 1 phone call. That's the difference between you and me, she said softly. You think money fixes people. I think people fix themselves. The words landed harder than she knew. Dante's gaze dropped to the glass, swirling the wine. He had spent years buying loyalty, silence, forgiveness, and still felt poor. He looked up. You think you're the first person to tell me no? I think I'm the first one still standing after it. The guard at the bar smothered a grin. Dante shot him a glance. The grin vanished. He turned back to Sarah. Finish your shift. Come back tomorrow. Same table. Why? Because no one in the city talks to me like you did. I need to know if it was courage or just madness. She rose slowly. Maybe both. He nodded once. Then maybe both of us are still alive for a reason. As she walked toward the door, the rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows like applause for a scene no one expected to end. Well, at the threshold she paused. If you're testing me, Mr. Moretti, remember, tests work both ways. The door swung shut behind her. Dante exhaled, the first real breath he'd taken all night. He looked at the untouched glass of wine, then at his reflection in the window. She doesn't scare easily, he murmured. Maybe that's what I've been afraid of. Lightning flashed, catching the gold in his cufflinks. The Mafia boss who made cities bow realized, for the first time, someone had just refused to. In the reflection behind him, a shadow moved, one of his lieutenants entering quietly. Boss, the man said, Marco Russo's asking questions about the waitress. Dante's jaw tightened. Then it seems everyone's noticed her now. Rain chased itself down the tall windows of Moretti Tower. The storm had followed Dante home. He stood at the window, jacket off, sleeves rolled, a file open on the glass desk behind him. It wasn't business reports this time. It was a background file on one waitress, Sarah Mitchell. He told himself it was just precaution, but the way his eyes stayed on the page said otherwise. Franco stepped in quietly. Boss, Marco Russo's been asking around. About her. Dante didn't turn. Of course he has. He can smell what I care about. Franco hesitated. You want us to warn him off? No, Dante said. Let him wonder why I care. Fear works better when it's curious. He closed the file. Her photograph looked almost out of place in his world of ink and blood. He slid it into a drawer. I'll handle Russo. Across town, Sarah walked home under an umbrella that had lost one rib to the wind. She kept replaying the night in her head, the way Dante's eyes had shifted from anger to something almost human. At her apartment door, a plain envelope waited on the floor. Inside, cash and a card from Valentino's marked health fund. She frowned. She hadn't told anyone about her mother's hospital bills. Her neighbor, Mrs. Carson, peeked from the hallway. Someone came by earlier. Dark suit. Didn't say much? Sarah exhaled. Of course, the Mafia boss didn't take debts. He erased them. But she didn't want charity. She wanted space. The next evening at Valentino's, she found him waiting at the same table. The restaurant was closed, candles unlit, the city's glow bleeding through the windows. You paid my mother's bills, she said before he could speak. I pay my people, he replied. I'm not your people. He almost smiled. Then what are you, Miss Mitchell? Someone who owes you nothing. He nodded slowly. That's exactly why you're still standing here. Silence stretched between them, the kind that sounded almost safe. Then Franco burst in. "Boss, Marco's crew hit one of our trucks. 2 men down. He left a note." Dante took it, scrawled in red. "Maybe you should worry less about waitresses." Sarah's stomach tightened. "Because of me?" He looked at her, voice calm but eyes dark. "No, because of me. You were just the first honest thing I've seen in years, and that makes you dangerous to them." She shook her head. "I didn't ask to be part of this." "Neither did I," he said quietly. "Yet, here we are." He turned to Franco. "Double security at the restaurant, and keep her family safe." Sarah stepped forward. "I can take care of myself." He met her eyes. "I believe you, but they won't care." Later, as she locked up, she found another envelope slipped under the door. This one not from Dante. Inside was a single photo. Her mother in the hospital bed, time-stamped just an hour ago. Under it, 3 words. "He can't protect you." The room tilted. She clutched the photo, heart racing. Outside, thunder cracked again, but this time it didn't sound like weather. Dante's phone buzzed at the same moment. Franco's voice was urgent on the line. "Boss, it's Russo. He just made his move." Dante's expression hardened. "Then so do we." Night fell heavy over the city. The storm had crawled into every alley and rooftop. Inside Moretti Tower, Dante stood over a table littered with maps and red-pinned photos, Marco Russo's roots, safe houses, and faces of men who once swore loyalty. Franco burst in, soaked from the rain. "Boss, it's confirmed. Russo hit the East shipment and torched one of our cars. No losses yet, thanks to your call, but he's pushing for a war." Dante's voice was low. "He wants chaos, Franco. We'll give him silence." He slid on his coat, expression carved from stone. "Where's Sarah?" "Still at the restaurant," Franco said. "She insisted on closing alone." Dante's jaw locked. "Of course she did." Valentino's was nearly dark when Sarah wiped the last table. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound, until it wasn't. The power flickered once, twice, then died. The city's neon outside became her only light. She grabbed her phone, but the signal bar vanished. A faint creak came from the rear door. "Franco," she called. Nothing. The door burst open. 2 men in dark jackets stormed in, faces hidden. One grabbed her arm, the other smashed a bottle against the counter. Before she could scream, a voice sliced through the darkness. Cold, steady, unmistakable. "Let her go." A shape emerged from the entrance. Dante Moretti, coat drenched, eyes burning like a storm-given form. The men hesitated only a second too long. That was all he needed. A flash, movement, sound of a struggle drowned in thunder. One man hit the floor. The other stumbled back, caught in the light of a lightning strike outside. Franco appeared behind them, subduing the last attacker. Sarah pressed herself against the wall, shaking. They were waiting. "I know." Dante steadied her, checking for bruises. "They wanted leverage." "Because of me," she whispered. "Because of me," he corrected. "You just reminded them I can still bleed." Within minutes, the restaurant filled with his men. Smoke drifted from a small fire in the kitchen, Russo's calling card. Dante doused it with his bare hand, ignoring the burn. Franco frowned. "He's sending a message, boss." Dante nodded. "Then I'll reply personally." He looked at Sarah, voice softening. "You need to leave town tonight." She shook her head. "You think I'll hide while you fight?" "Hide?" He almost smiled. "I'm asking you to live." Her eyes glistened. "You think this is living?" He paused. "No, but it's surviving. And right now, that's enough." Outside, the rain had turned to mist. Dante stepped into it, Franco at his side. "Find Russo. No noise, no civilians. This ends before sunrise." Franco hesitated. "And the waitress?" Dante glanced back through the window. Sarah standing under the chandelier, small against the emptiness yet unbroken. She's under my protection. Anyone touches her, they answer to me. He walked toward the waiting car, each step deliberate. Lightning flared once more, etching his silhouette in white against the city. Tonight, Dante Moretti was not the man who ran restaurants or business fronts. He was the name whispered in fear, the storm made flesh. As the car door shut, Franco's phone buzzed. He looked at the message, face paling. "Boss, Russo's not running. He's coming here." Dante's eyes narrowed. "Then let him." Russo didn't come quietly. His convoy of black sedans stormed through the soaked streets, headlights slicing fog. By the time Dante reached the southern villa, the night was already on fire. Franco's voice crackled through the radio. "Boss, he's hit the supply wing. 4 men down, rest holding position." "Hold the perimeter," Dante ordered. "No stray bullets. This isn't a war. It's a message." He stepped out of the car, rain pelting against his shoulders, pistol steady in his hand. Every thunderclap echoed against marble walls, a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Inside the villa, shadows danced across the corridors, Russo's men clearing rooms one by one. But Dante wasn't hiding. He was hunting. A guard turned a corner too slow. 2 shots, precise, measured. Dante moved like a ghost between flashes of lightning, a master reclaiming his house. Meanwhile, Sarah sat in the back seat of Franco's spare car, engine idling 2 streets away. She had begged to come, but Dante had left her with one order: stay safe. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "If he dies tonight, you're next." Her breath caught. She knew she should drive away, call someone, do anything, but she couldn't. Not while the man who had turned her life upside down was walking into hell alone. Inside, the storm found its voice. Russo emerged from the smoke with a grin cut sharp as glass. "You've gone soft, Dante. Since when does the King of Blood start protecting waitresses?" Dante raised his gun. "Since one reminded me I could still be human." Russo laughed, circling. "Humanity's bad for business." "Then tonight," Dante said, stepping closer, "business ends." The fight was quick, brutal. Years of brotherhood turned to war in seconds. The chandelier shattered overhead, glass raining down like judgment. When it ended, Russo was on the floor, the thunder outside finally fading. Dante stood over him, chest heaving, gun smoking, but his eyes carried no triumph, only exhaustion. Franco rushed in. "Boss, Sarah's missing. The car's gone." By the time Dante found her, she was standing in the middle of the road, drenched, blocking his path. "You think saving me means you can throw yourself away?" she shouted over the rain. He stopped the car, stepped out slowly. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," she said, tears mixing with rain. "You said you wanted out, so get out." For a long second, neither spoke. Then, finally, Dante holstered his gun and walked toward her. "I don't want to be what I was," he said quietly. "Not anymore." "Then prove it." He looked past her toward the city, the lights, the noise, the world that had once bowed to his name. "Tomorrow, the empire falls. No more fronts, no more blood." Sarah stepped closer. "And you?" He gave her the faintest smile. "Maybe I'll finally find peace in something I can't control." Thunder rolled again, distant this time, as if the sky itself exhaled. The war was over, not because he'd won, but because he'd finally stopped fighting. The next morning's paper read, "Valentino's closed. Owner missing. Empire dissolved." But on the last page a small note printed in gold ink appeared. "To build peace, first you must break power." Morning crept into the city without sirens for the first time in years. The rain had finally stopped. Outside Valentino's, workers in gray uniforms were scrubbing soot from marble steps and rehanging the gold letters that spelled a new name: Valentino's and Company. Est. Anew. Inside, Sarah moved through the quiet restaurant like someone returning home after a long storm. The smell of polish, the gleam of crystal, everything looked familiar, yet nothing felt the same. Where armed guards once stood, there were students from the Culinary Academy unpacking boxes. The chandeliers glowed softer now. No shadows lurked beneath them. Franco appeared at the doorway, no longer in a suit, just rolled sleeves and a calm smile. "It's ready," he said, "exactly how he wanted it." Sarah ran a finger along the counter, remembering the night Dante had faced her there. "He really left it all?" Franco nodded. "Every property, every account, signed them to the trust you started. Said peace was cheaper than power." She swallowed the lump in her throat. "Do you know where he went?" "No one does," he said. "But if he's still breathing, he's somewhere no one can find him. And that's probably how he wants it." He handed her a sealed envelope, edges smudged with travel dust. "This came this morning. No return name, but I didn't need one." Sarah hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a folded sheet of paper and a single gold cufflink. The note read, "You once told me money doesn't fix people. You were right. People do. So keep affixing what I broke. Every meal, every smile. That's your empire now. DM." Her eyes stung. She traced the initials like they were fragile glass, then looked toward the staff who were setting up the first tables for lunch. "Let's open the doors," she said quietly. "No reservations. Everyone eats today." By noon, the smell of fresh bread and laughter spilled into the street. Neighborhood kids crowded the windows, and for the first time, Valentino's wasn't a fortress. It was a home. Sarah watched them from behind the host stand, apron tied neat, posture straight. In the corner, Franco adjusted a small bronze plaque mounted to the wall. It read, "In memory of change, in honor of choice." A little boy tugged Sarah's sleeve. "Miss, who's that for?" She smiled. "For someone who finally learned what matters." Outside, across the street, a man in a dark coat paused under the awning of a bookstore. He didn't come closer. He just watched for a moment as light poured through the restaurant windows. Then he slipped the other cufflink into his pocket and walked away into the thinning crowd. Sarah looked up at the movement, sensing something familiar, but the space was already empty. She smiled to herself and whispered, "Guess you really don't own me anymore." The afternoon sun broke through the clouds, scattering gold across the glass. Inside, the sound of laughter replaced the echo of fear. And for the first time in a long while, peace wasn't a dream. It was the daily special. Some kingdoms end with blood. Ours ended with mercy.